This is Optimal Relationships Daily, episode 212, How to Go from Introvert to Extrovert, Part 2, by Steve Pavlina of stevepavlina.com. Hello, and welcome to the Relationships edition of Optimal Living Daily. I'm Joss Marie, the woman who reads to you every Monday through Friday from some of the best relationship blogs out there. Today, I have a post from Steve Pavlina all about becoming an extrovert, and it's actually the second part of this post, so make sure and check out yesterday's episode first to hear part 1 if you haven't already. That's episode 211. Also, if you're interested in learning more about the show or any of the other podcasts in our network, come by oldpodcast.com. But for now, let's hear the second part of Steve's post and continue optimizing your life. How to Go from Introvert to Extrovert, Part 2, by Steve Pavlina of stevepavlina.com. Suggestions for becoming more extroverted. Here are some additional suggestions for how to become more extroverted. Number 1. Envision the type of extrovert you'd like to be. What's your ideal outcome? If you feel too introverted and want to be more extroverted, start by working on your vision of your outcome. Chances are that if you've been making little progress in this area, you have a somewhat negative vision of extroverts. When I formed a positive vision of being an extrovert that included building genuine relationships with intelligent people I respect, as opposed to random shallow socializing, I soon began attracting those relationships. Being a dumb jock kind of extrovert still has no appeal to me. Number 2, think of relationships in terms of what you can give, not in terms of what you can get. If you seek to build new relationships based on mutual giving and receiving, you'll have no shortage of friends. Identify people with whom you'd like to build a relationship and start by giving. I've found that my geeky knowledge is actually a tremendous strength when it comes to socializing because there are an awful lot of non-geeks who'd like to understand geeky stuff better, and I can explain it to them in ways they'll understand. For example, I've been teaching some local speaker friends about blogging and web marketing, and in return, I'm learning a lot from them about speaking, humor, and so on. There are many intelligent people out there who'd love to have a geek as a friend. What can you bring to a relationship that will be of benefit to someone else? When you figure out what that is, and it's probably many different things, you'll have an easier time attracting new friends into your life. Number 3, find the right social group for you. Consciously consider the types of people you'd want to have as friends. There's no rule that says this has to be your peers or coworkers. I actually find myself more interested in making friends with people who are much older than me, as opposed to people my own age or slightly younger. People around my age, 34, tend to be very career and family-oriented, but often in a somewhat mindless, socially conditioned way that isn't centered around any consciously chosen life purpose or belief system. And people in their 20s, while often highly energetic, tend to be largely unfocused, or focused on trivial pursuits that just aren't that important. So it's been difficult for me to find people near my age where we have enough in common for a long-term friendship. I seem to have an easier time making friends with people in their 40s, 50s, and older. They typically have greater knowledge and experience, more fascinating stories to share, more resources, information and ideas, financial resources, contacts, and a better sense of who they are and what they want to do with their lives. Often I find myself attending social events where I'm the youngest person in the room, but that feels very comfortable and normal for me. Don't be afraid to stretch beyond the most obvious peer group and hang out with people from different ages, neighborhoods, cultures, countries, and so on. You might find the variety to be a lot of fun. Number 4, play from your strengths. It's interesting that many introverts have no trouble socializing online. In that environment, they're able to play from their strengths. But you can also use your strengths consciously as leverage to branch out into more face-to-face socializing. For example, After I graduated college, I met a woman on a local BBS before there was much of a World Wide Web. We got to chatting online over a period of weeks. Eventually, we met in person and became friends, and I soon fell into her pre-existing social group through osmosis. My social calendar went from empty to full almost overnight. That woman, by the way, later became my wife. If you socialize online, see if you can't use that strength to build new local relationships. While people have done this in global forums like online games, I think it's easier to try it in local forums. For instance, there are message boards for people who have recently moved to Las Vegas. Number 5, join a club. It's old advice, but it still works. The advantage is that you'll find people who share similar interests, which makes it easier to build new relationships. One good club can fill your social calendar. For example, through my membership in Toastmasters, I get invitations to lots of other local social events. I don't go to everything, but it's nice to get those invites. Plus, belonging to an international organization with 200,000 members worldwide creates social inroads around the planet. If you join a club and find that it's not right for you, quit and join something else. My former wife and I had been through a number of local social groups that just didn't resonate with us. Too boring, too slow, too disorganized, too many alcoholics. But one good group is all you need. And number 6, develop your social skills consciously. You can learn to become better at building rapport, introducing yourself, keeping a conversation going, asking someone out on a date, feeling socially comfortable instead of nervous, and so on. You don't need to be shallow and manipulative about it, but genuinely build these skills because it will greatly enhance your life. One approach I find extremely effective is to ask the other person how she or he got started in his or her current line of work. 80 to 90% of the time, the person will say something like, "Well, that's an interesting story." And I genuinely like hearing these stories. A small basic set of social skills can go a long way because you'll get to reuse them every time you meet someone. Whatever skill you'd like to develop, try doing a Google or Amazon search on it, and you'll probably find plenty of articles and books. Realize that when you hold yourself back from socializing, you're not only depriving yourself, you're also depriving other people of the chance to get to know you. How much longer do you want your future spouse or best friend to remain alone? You just listened to part 2 of the post titled, How to Go from Introvert to Extrovert by Steve Pavlina of stevepavlina.com. Thank you to Steve for letting us share this post and so many other posts with you here on the show. We actually feature his content pretty frequently on some of the other shows in our podcast network too, including Optimal Living Daily and Optimal Business Daily. So make sure and check them out if you're interested in hearing more of Steve's content being narrated to you for free. To learn more about this show or any of our other shows, come by oldpodcast.com. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this podcast, but also Optimal Living Daily, the show where I read to you from even more blogs covering finance, productivity, minimalism, personal development, and more from incredible bloggers like Derek Sivers, Zen Habits, Mark and Angel, The Minimalists, and all the ones you hear on this show too. So if you enjoyed today's episode and like taking amazing blogs on the go, come on over to Optimal Living Daily and subscribe to that one too. And together, we'll start optimizing your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.